to plaintiff Carlos Matthew Soto.
Can't get blood out of a stone.
Slander damages, past and future, $18,600,000.
So this is what a show trial looks like. I mean, this is the left completely out of control, doing whatever they want, like drag queen story time. Two men can have a baby. I mean, this is what they do. This is their panacea.
Add line A and line B. $57,600,000.
57 million, 20 million, 50 million, 80 million, 100 million, blah, blah. You get a million, you get 100 million, you get a 50 million.
Slander damages, past and future.
Couldn't put on evidence, couldn't defend ourselves.
Emotional distress damages, past and future, $1 million. Total fair, just, and reasonable damages to plaintiff Francine Wheeler and against Alex.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, there's more charges. Oh, we're going to get to way past $1 billion. Oh, sorry.
Hello and welcome to What the F*** Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it. It's Wednesday, October 12th, 2022. Welcome to day 631. The FDA authorized updated coronavirus booster shots for children as young as 5 years old. The CDC, which recommends how vaccines are used, signed off hours later. The reformulated boosters are bivalent, meaning they contain a combination of components that targeted the original coronavirus strain and ones that target the Omicron subvariants BA4 and BA5, which currently make up about 80% of the virus circulating in the United States. Meanwhile, Joe Biden said the prospect of a slight recession is possible, but said he doesn't anticipate it, despite inflation being expected to return to a 40-year high, and the Federal Reserve promising to continue raising interest rates until inflation cools. The Core Consumer Price Index, which excludes food and energy, is projected to rise 0.4% in September from August and 6.5% from a year ago, matching the rate seen in March that was the highest since 1992. In response, the Fed has raised its benchmark rate 5 times this year to a range between 3 and 3.25% today from near zero. It's the most rapid pace of rate increases since the early 1980s to fight inflation running at near 40-year highs. Moving on, more than 2,600 federal officials reported stock investments in companies while those companies lobbied their agencies for favorable policies. During both Republican and Democratic administrations from 2016 through 2021, more than 1 in 5 senior federal employees across 50 federal agencies reported owning or trading stocks that stood to rise or fall depending on decisions that their agencies made. Additionally, more than 60 officials at 5 agencies, including the FTC and the Justice Department, reported trading stock in companies shortly before their departments announced regulatory enforcement options against those companies. In D.C., the January 6th committee plans to share new video footage and internal Secret Service emails showing that Trump ratcheted up the conflict at the Capitol despite being warned of escalating violence. The committee's final hearing is set for Thursday and is expected to corroborate its key findings about Trump and the January 6th insurrection, which are that Trump sought to rile up his supporters to block the certification of Biden's electoral victory, that he used his speech near the ellipse to encourage his supporters to fight like hell, knowing some of them were armed, that he directed them to march on the Capitol, and that he refused to call off the attack. Since its last hearing in July, the committee has interviewed more members of Trump's cabinet, it's received Secret Service communications, and it's interviewed Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The committee's final report is expected to come out in December. Meanwhile, a federal judge rejected Trump's attempt to delay his deposition in a defamation suit brought by a woman who claims that he raped her in the 1990s. Trump's deposition is now scheduled for October 19th. Judge Lewis Kaplan also denied Trump's request to substitute the U.S. government into the case as a defendant, replacing Trump, on the grounds that the alleged defamation of New York columnist E. Jean Carroll occurred while he was president. Carroll brought the suit 3 years ago after Trump repeatedly denied her rape allegations and described her as not my type. Kaplan also noted that Trump's efforts to delay the lawsuit and his production of virtually no documents was, quote, inexcusable, end quote. And finally, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones was ordered to pay nearly $1 billion in damages to the families of 8 victims of the Sandy Hook massacre, where 20 children and 6 educators were shot and killed. Within hours of the shooting, Jones started calling it a hoax staged by crisis actors following a script written by the government in order to build support for gun control measures. During his testimony, Jones acknowledged that he had been wrong about Sandy Hook and admitted that the shooting was, quote, 100% real. In August, a jury ordered Jones to pay nearly $50 million to the parents of a first grader killed at Sandy Hook. Jones also faces a third trial in a lawsuit filed by the parents of another child killed in the shooting. InfoWars and its parent company Free Speech Systems, however, have filed for bankruptcy protection. And in the polls, KFF Health Tracking says 50% of voters say the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade has made them more motivated to vote, up 13 percentage points from May. The Associated Press says 46% of Americans call their personal financial situation poor, up from 37% in March. And CNN says 22% of Americans rate the country's current economic conditions as good, with 41% saying conditions are somewhat poor and 37% saying they're very poor. That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.